Police department?
Yes, I just saw someone jump out of their window out of probably the 17th, 19th floor of the University Club Tower apartment at 17th and Denver.
The name of that place is University
Club. The glass broke and he fell down.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17th floor.
Wow, 17th floor, huh? All right, sir. We got help on the way then.
All right, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
I touched his bones. All broken and sticking out of his body. Everything was bent backwards. I look at this and I think of all this stuff on Josh. Everything was split open. You could see his bones and blood and guts.
Amber Gilberling had so much weighing on her heart. She had just left her husband shattered on the pavement at the bottom of a high-rise. Her grandma sat right next to her, completely silent, just trying to comfort her granddaughter after the shock. But, that comfort quickly turned into this kind of desperate attempt to take control of the situation. Except, there was no controlling this. Not when it came to Amber. She was young, pregnant, and had way too much inside her to just stay quiet. And once she started talking, there was no turning back. So, around 4 in the afternoon on June 7th, 2011, a call came into 911 in Tulsa. Someone said a man had fallen from the University Club Tower, this tall residential building on the corner of 17th and South Carson in downtown Tulsa, Oklahoma. When the police got to the 8th level of the parking garage, the spot where 23-year-old U.S. Air Force veteran Joshua Gilberling had landed, the scene was just horrifying. One of the officers later wrote in his report, "When a person falls from that high up, they literally break apart. At first, it just looks like a pile of clothes on the ground. And then you realize it's a human being." Right nearby stood his 19-year-old wife, about 5'5", 7 months pregnant. She was standing there, staring at her husband, this 2-meter tall, 220-pound man, and she was crying out, "Please, do something. Fix him, so I don't go to jail." Joshua and Amber Gilberling lived on the 25th floor of the University Club Tower. Josh, as his friends called him, had fallen from their apartment 17 stories down and hit the parking deck below. Witnesses said he went out face first, not backward, and it was painfully clear he died instantly. The official cause of death was listed as multiple blunt force injuries consistent with a fall from a great height, and those injuries were brutal. Both legs shattered, 6 broken vertebrae, multiple fractured ribs, a cracked sternum, a broken pelvis, plus bruised lungs, a torn liver and spleen, and damaged kidneys. Hearing that list is one thing, but seeing it, oh my god, that's something else entirely. No medical report could ever capture what Amber saw that day, the kind of details she would later describe in haunting, graphic terms. While rescue crews sealed off the lower parking level, officers took the elevator up to the couple's apartment on the 25th floor. Inside, the first thing they noticed was that the huge living room window had been smashed, shards of glass scattered across the floor. But, weirdly, everything else looked perfectly normal. There were no signs of a struggle. Even the delicate little candle holders sitting right next to the broken window were still standing in place. The police started gathering as much information as they could about what had happened. There were 2 window repairmen on site at the time. They said they'd come to fix a cracked window in the bedroom. One guy was working inside the bedroom, and the other was near the big living room window, the same one Josh had fallen through. When the second repair guy went downstairs to grab some extra tools from the truck, he suddenly heard this massive crash from above. He looked up, and oh my god, he saw Josh falling. He later said it was like something straight out of a movie. Josh was flailing his arms, trying desperately to hold on to something. The man said he could see Josh waving and screaming the whole way down. You could tell just how terrified he was. Right before that, neighbors and the workers inside the apartment heard shouting, the sound of glass shattering, and then a voice yelling, "No, no, no." One neighbor even remembered hearing the sound of someone running right before the fall, and that little detail would end up becoming really important later. A witness across the street also saw the fall. Just a few seconds after, Amber came running outside, completely panicked. She fell to her knees next to Josh's body, crying uncontrollably, holding him in her arms and begging someone to help. Right after the fall, Amber called her grandmother, who showed up not long after. Meanwhile, upstairs, police noticed that Josh's belongings were neatly packed by the door like he'd been planning to leave. They also found a protective order Josh had once filed against Amber. It had been issued a month earlier, but by the time of the fall, it was no longer active because Josh never went back to court to extend it. The cops weren't sure yet how all those pieces fit together, but based on what they'd seen and what the repairmen, neighbours, and Amber herself had told them, they knew they needed to dig deeper. They had to find out whether this was a tragic accident or something else. Amber was taken down to the station with her grandmother by her side. They were both placed in one of the interview rooms. The officers would come in later, but in the meantime, the cameras kept rolling, capturing Amber's raw, unfiltered reactions to everything that had just happened.
When they come in and they asked you, say, I don't want to say nothing till my attorney gets here.
But doesn't that make me guilty?
No, that makes the lawyer do his job. Because, baby, they will bring everything in.
But regardless, I'm going to jail.
That doesn't mean we're just doing your rights. You just don't understand how things work. You just don't say nothing till your attorney gets here. Okay?
So we're gonna be here for like hours.
Yeah, it'll probably be a long night. But you don't say nothing until your attorney gets here. When they come in, just say, I don't want to say nothing until my attorney gets here. Okay? Don't slip any other way. You just have to stick to that. Because they are, listen to me, they are gonna poke you.
I just want to be with Josh.
They're
I just
gonna-
want to.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
Amber, you got that baby there.
But this is Josh's baby.
That's right, that's Josh's baby. That's the only thing that Josh has got is that baby.
He's supposed to be here. I'm such a bad person.
Amber.
No, I don't deserve to live. I don't deserve to be a mom. Josh deserves to be a dad. And Josh isn't even a person anymore.
You can't talk like that.
I'm so sorry.
And you can't talk like that in front of... You gotta hold it together, baby.
I can't stop seeing Josh fall. I just want to be back in bed, laying with him. That's never gonna happen again.
Her grandma was doing everything she could to stop Amber from talking once the cops came in. Like, she kept trying to calm her down, telling her to just stay quiet, to not say anything. You could tell she was desperate to keep Amber from opening her mouth.
Josh. I just want to see him just one more time. I wonder if his parents know yet.
I'm sure they do, but...
They were right. They kept saying if we stay together, I'm gonna kill him. Will you have Mom bring me some different pants?
Well, right now, ain't nobody going nowhere. Don't say stuff
How did
like
this
that.
happen? How did this happen? Why did he have to fall out the window? Fall out a window? Why did Mom put us in that apartment?
Well,
Why are we there? Why were we there? Why didn't I just leave? He was leaving. I kept just saying, and when he leaves, I'll go to my grandma's. Why didn't I just leave? He'd still be alive. Josh is dead. His bones were sticking out all over his body. His whole body was broken. And I just held him and kissed his cheeks and screamed for him to wake up.
Her grandma's warnings, just stay quiet, weren't sinking in at all. Amber wasn't hearing any of it. She was way too shaken, too overwhelmed to even think about staying silent.
This is gonna turn into a nightmare.
You just have to pray. We'll get through it.
I don't deserve to pray. Who am I praying to, Josh? Josh hates me. I'm not even gonna be able to meet him in heaven anymore because he just hates me. I killed him.
Stop talking like that.
Amber still wasn't getting it, so her grandma switched tactics. You could almost see her thinking like, okay, this isn't working, and she suddenly changed the way she was talking to her.
What kind of person am I?
You're a loving person that has been abused by Josh just as well.
No, I'm a horrible person who could do that. Who could do that? Push my husband and make him fall out the window. I wish I could just go back and know that if I pushed him, it was gonna happen.
Amber, quit saying you pushed him out the window. Did you intentionally?
No,
Okay.
of course not.
Okay, that's what they're gonna take it as, baby. That's why I said everything that you say, they're gonna in a different manner. Because they're gonna say, okay, Amber.
I just don't understand this whole...
Legal system.
No, not that. I don't understand the whole pattern of events of the last year. Us getting married and going to Alaska. Everything in Alaska, me being pregnant. Coming back here, getting kicked out of Mom's house, going to the apartment. And then all for it to Josh just fall out of a high-rise building.
I wish y'all would have never went to the apartment.
I mean, what are the chances? How many times has that happened? All Josh's friends, his family, they're gonna know he died because he fell out of a high-rise apartment. And I just keep watching him fall. Over and over and over again in my head. Watching him flail and think that he, my last thought was, please catch yourself. And I just want to know what was going through his head. If he knew he was gonna die. If he said a prayer, or if he cursed my name, or if he just thought that he could catch himself too. And then just watching him hit the ground. I just want to go back. Please, I just want to go back and just not push him, just catch him, something. This can't be real. I mean, I still have my whole life ahead of me, and I was supposed to spend it with Josh. And now I'm gonna go to prison. And Josh is dead. My baby's gonna get taken away from me.
Her grandma, completely desperate, was trying so hard to save the situation, but it was hopeless. You could feel the panic in her voice, the way she kept reaching for control, but oh my God, there was just no fixing it.
What am I gonna tell Levi?
That he had a handsome dad, and that he loved him, and you will show his picture to him, and you will show him and tell him the good things about his dad.
But I know what really happened.
What really happened? You don't know what really happened. Y'all were in there. You were struggling.
Amber still doesn't get it, and that's when her grandma finally starts talking straight. Like, no more hints, no more gentle warnings. She's done trying to be subtle.
You have to remember what I told you. Amber, if you don't do anything else, you got to remember what I told you. I'm begging.
About the attorney? What if it doesn't work?
It'll work. You let the attorney handle it, and they're gonna try to break you. Don't.
I'm just waiting for Josh to walk in the room and tell me that he's sorry and that he loves me so much. Every bone in his body was sticking out. And his eyes were open. And I just looked at him and I just kissed him. And I said, I'm so sorry, please. I love you, wake up. I killed him. I mean, I know what I have to do.
What is that? What do you have to do? You're gonna have to quit saying that.
Yeah, I know.
You
That's what I'm
didn't.
saying.
You didn't kill him, Amber.
I know, but it was an accident that went wrong, but because of me. I mean, I know I can't say those things. I know what I have to do to keep me and Levi safe.
No, the only thing that I'm telling you is just for you to talk to your attorney. You have to be open and honest with your attorney. I'm just saying that your emotions right now, you're in shock.
What if I'm not? What if I'm
What?
just a horrible person who can't cry? Or...
You're human. You're in shock. You've seen your husband that you love die. That's shock.
I don't
You're
feel like I'm in shock.
7.5 months pregnant. You're carrying a child.
I don't feel like I'm in shock. I just don't feel anything. I just keep hoping it's all that Josh is just gonna walk in here.
The door.
But he's not. God, I can't take this. I just want to save him. I want to save him. I just want to. At least if I can go back and take back the push, at least I can save him.
The push.
The push. I pushed him against the wall and he. Oh my God. At least I could catch him. I tried, but it was all so fast. And I just want to know what his last thoughts were. What could you think? What could go through your head when you're falling to your death?
Was he fixing to... Where was the candle things?
There's like these stand-up candle things like this high. They're just like little wire things, but he was fixing the TV. He was like messing with the TV right here. And the window's right here. And I pushed him and he fell into the window and fell. Oh God. I'm not looking forward to all the nights I'm gonna spend crying. I'm waking up screaming. Dreaming about him.
That's why we have therapists that'll help.
Hi, are you Amber?
Yes.
Yeah, my name's Jeff Felton. I'm very sorry. Very sorry. I'm sorry you...
I'm her grandmother, Gloria Bowers.
Okay, I'm very sorry. What is this? Yeah, I'd like to talk to you, get a statement as to what happened. Can I talk to you? Yeah, can I talk to her in private?
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
How old are you, Amber?
19.
19? How long you guys been
I
married?
can't make a statement. I don't want this to turn out bad.
Okay. Okay, well,
My mom, I think, is calling an attorney,
okay. Is that what you want to do?
and I'm not supposed to say anything till he gets here.
Okay. Who is your attorney?
I don't know.
Okay. What's your mom's?
Rhonda Whitlock.
Okay, I'll call your mom, okay?
Okay.
You want your grandma to come sit back in?
Yes, please.
Okay.
When Amber was left alone, she started whispering through her tears, barely holding herself together.
Josh. Baby. I will never, ever forgive myself. I can't even begin to accept this. I want you to be here. Just come back, please. Please. I love you. I love you so much. I hope you are happy. I will spend the rest of my life paying for this. Oh my gosh.
Don't push on it. You'll get it.
I look at this and I think of all this stuff on Josh. Everything was split open. You could see his bones and blood and guts.
And according to Amber's family, what happened in that interrogation room wasn't just a horrible tragedy, it was deeply unfair. They believed Amber should have been told that everything she said was being recorded. But, of course, the police saw it differently. Once Amber officially got herself a lawyer, the steady flow of information just stopped, at least for a while. But later interviews and investigations would eventually uncover the full story. Amber and Josh's relationship had started off like one of those whirlwind romances, all passion and intensity. Things moved fast. They got married, packed up, and moved to Alaska because of Josh's service in the Air Force. Before long, Amber was pregnant. On the surface, Amber came from what looked like a pretty well-off Tulsa family. Her stepdad was a plastic surgeon, and her mum worked as a nurse. Josh's family, on the other hand, had this strong, traditional Oklahoma background, deeply rooted, old-school kind of people. But behind that picture-perfect young love, there were some serious problems. Family and friends from both sides later described the relationship as toxic, explosive, constant fighting, screaming, emotional outbursts, and really nasty arguments. Amber's family blamed Josh. They said he was verbally aggressive, that he was using and even selling drugs, and that after leaving the military, he became unstable and unpredictable. But others pointed the finger at Amber. There had already been one earlier incident where, according to witnesses, she shoved Josh down a flight of stairs during an argument. And about a month before the tragedy, Josh actually filed for a protective order against her after she hit him in the head with a lamp. The blow was so bad he needed 21 stitches. Josh had also filed another domestic violence report against Amber before that, and he'd told people close to him about a few other incidents that never made it into official records. On the day everything went down, Amber said the argument started while she was doing laundry. According to her, Josh got angry and threw the laundry basket through their bedroom window, shattering the glass. That broken window, which supposedly had nothing to do with what happened later, was the reason Amber called maintenance workers to come fix it. When the maintenance guys started checking out the damage, the tension in that apartment just kept building. One of them later testified that he saw Amber walking in and out of the room several times, the same room where her argument with Josh was getting more and more heated. A neighbour also confirmed hearing footsteps, a loud crash, and a woman screaming. By that point, Josh's stuff was already packed. Apparently, he'd even called his dad, asking him to come pick him up, but his dad couldn't leave work. And then came the words that changed everything, Amber's own words. Right there at the scene, in front of her grandma and several other people, she said, "I pushed him." And once she got to that interrogation room, there was no stopping her. She just kept repeating it over and over again. The window Josh fell through was part of the university club tower that old high-rise from the 1960s, one of Tulsa's most distinctive buildings. Back in the day, it was a big architectural deal, one of the first residential skyscrapers in the US, designed using computer technology. Because of its round shape, each apartment was laid out kind of like the letter P, a narrow hallway leading into a wide, curved living space with massive panoramic windows that faced outward. But for all its innovation, the building had some major weaknesses. The glass was thin, not reinforced, and held in place by old, dried-out sealant. That detail, as it turned out, would become really important later when the experts got involved. Meanwhile, police believed they already had enough evidence to arrest Amber. They took her into custody about 4 hours after the fall, but she was later released on bail. While she was out on bail, Amber gave birth to their son Levi and started settling into motherhood, maybe a little too comfortably. She began breaking her release conditions a lot. She violated curfew at least 5 times, failed to recharge her ankle monitor 10 times, and twice tested positive for marijuana. That last violation was the final straw. Her bail was revoked, and the judge ordered her back to jail. When Amber's case started getting media attention, waves of support began flooding social media. On Facebook and online forums, people were posting claims that Amber had also filed for a restraining order against Josh, that there were text messages where she supposedly said she just wanted him out of her life, and that she had even called the police several times during their short marriage. As for the restraining order Josh had filed against her, Amber's family insisted it wasn't serious. They said the couple actually laughed about it together and that Josh had only gone through with it because his family pressured him into doing so. But a lot of people were asking the obvious questions. Like, if it was all just a joke, then why did Josh's family feel the need to push him to file that order in the first place? And why would he risk publicly damaging his wife's reputation with such a serious accusation if there wasn't some truth behind it? Right before the trial began around March of 2013, prosecutors offered Amber 2 plea deals. The first one would have given her 5 years in prison, followed by probation under supervision. The second one, the details of which were never made public, came with a longer sentence, but still less than what she'd be facing if the jury found her guilty. Amber turned both of them down. She insisted she never meant to hurt Josh, and truly believed that the jury would see it that way too. As the trial date got closer, Amber's lawyers fought hard to get the interrogation room video thrown out of evidence. But the court denied their request. The judge ruled that the footage could be used, saying Amber didn't have a reasonable expectation of privacy in that situation. During the trial, Amber admitted that Josh's belongings had, in fact, been packed by the door, but said that she was the one who told him to leave. According to her, she was the one who wanted to end things. Her defense team then presented a new version of the story, one where Amber's actions were, they claimed, in self-defense. She testified that during the argument, Josh grabbed her shoulders so hard that she became terrified not just for herself, but for her unborn child. Acting purely on instinct, she pushed him away. According to Amber, Josh lost his balance, hit his head, and crashed through the window, a window that had been fully covered by vertical blinds. What happened, she insisted, was a tragic accident, not an intentional act. Amber said she locked eyes with Josh as he was falling, and then everything went hazy, like her mind just shut down from the shock. Her defense portrayed Josh as the aggressor, a man with a history of drug use that, they argued, contributed to his unstable behavior. The defense maintained that Amber had no intention to harm him. She was scared and reacted on pure instinct, trying only to protect herself. But the prosecution disagreed. They pointed out that there were no signs of a struggle near the window, not even the candle holders placed nearby had been disturbed. Prosecutors also presented her own words as evidence statements that completely contradicted her current claim of self-defense.
There's like these stand-up candle things like this high. They're just like little wire things, but he was fixing the TV. He was like messing with the TV right here, and the window's right here. And I pushed him, and he fell through the window. Fell. Oh God.
And from that moment on, there was no turning back. During the nearly hour-long interrogation video shown to the jury, Amber never once mentioned a struggle, any aggression from Josh, or anything beyond a simple push. In fact, when her grandmother first hinted at the idea of a possible fight, Amber's reaction said it all.
He was leaving. I kept just saying, and when he leaves, I'll go to my grandma's. Why didn't I just leave? He'd still be alive.
Were y'all both struggling?
What do you mean?
When you was...
I can't get the image of him go out of my head, him falling out the window.
Later, her grandmother tried once again to nudge her toward the struggle version of events, this time facing a little less resistance.
But I know what really happened.
What really happened? You don't know what really happened. Y'all were in there. You were struggling.
I can't believe you fell out the window.
They also pointed out that the evidence didn't support Amber's claim that Josh's aggression had been triggered by drug use. Toxicology reports confirmed that there were no illegal substances in his system at the time of his death. Instead, prosecutors introduced what they described as Amber's own history of drug use, including during her pregnancy, suggesting that she might have been under the influence when the fall occurred. They argued that the running sound neighbors heard just before the glass shattered wasn't panic, it was Amber taking a few steps back to gain momentum before shoving her much larger husband through the window. The prosecution also leaned on eyewitness testimony from the scene, where Amber openly admitted to pushing Josh, and on additional alleged confessions she supposedly made to 2 cellmates while jailed for violating her bond conditions. Those cellmates claimed Amber used to joke, "You'd better do what I say, or I'll throw you out the window," before bursting into laughter. According to the same women, Amber had also told them that she pushed Josh on purpose and didn't regret it. The core of the prosecution's case rested on the idea that this wasn't some sudden, isolated outburst. It was the culmination of a long, toxic cycle of domestic violence. They cited the protective order Josh had filed and his repeated complaints as proof. Prosecutors suggested that Josh packing his things, preparing to leave Amber for good, was what ultimately triggered her rage. And then, of course, there was the issue of the window itself. The defense brought in a glass expert who testified that the type of glass used in the building's windows was typically meant for small frames or picture panels, not high-rise structures. He explained that the window had been repeatedly sealed and resealed with caulk that had since deteriorated, meaning it no longer held properly. According to him, this was a widespread problem throughout the building, not unique to the couple's apartment. During the trial, Amber even filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the building's owners and management. She claimed they knowingly installed dangerously thin glass that didn't meet safety standards and could shatter under minimal pressure. The lawsuit sought just over $10,000 in damages for herself and her son. However, court records show that Amber's wrongful death lawsuit was dismissed in March 2015 because her attorney failed to serve official notice to the defendants within the required 180 days. During closing arguments, the prosecution directly challenged the defense's claims. They argued that the window hadn't shattered due to faulty sealing or thin glass, it shattered because Amber pushed Josh through it. Overall, the prosecution contended that while Amber initially showed some remorse, she later refused to take responsibility for her actions, choosing instead to blame Josh for his own death under the guise of self-defense. After only 3 hours of deliberation, the jury returned its verdict, guilty of second-degree murder. Amber's family and friends were stunned that the jury could reach such a conclusion. They believed the jurors were wrong that Amber had been the victim, not the aggressor, and had only acted out of fear for her life. They claimed to have evidence supporting her story, including filings, protective orders, and text messages that supposedly proved it. However, no publicly available documents have ever confirmed those claims. What is publicly accessible through Oklahoma's court records is the protective order Josh filed against Amber. Those who believe in her guilt point out that 12 jurors unanimously found her guilty based on the evidence presented, much of which, prosecutors emphasized, came directly from Amber herself through her own words and actions. Josh's family also agreed that the jury made the right call. Long before the tragedy, Josh had confided in loved ones that Amber would often hit and verbally abuse him. They said they were deeply worried about his safety and had urged him repeatedly to leave her. After his death, they recalled that Amber's own statements only confirmed their worst fears.
I wonder if his parents know yet.
I'm sure they do, but
They were right. They kept saying if we stay together, I'm gonna kill him.
When Josh's father was told that his son had died, he said he immediately knew who was responsible, even before hearing a name. At the sentencing phase, Josh's family submitted written statements to the court. His brother described the abuse Josh had endured, the unbearable grief their family suffered after his death, and the turbulent relationship Amber had with her own relatives. In his letter, Josh's father responded to claims made by Amber's family, who had tried to portray his son in a negative light. "We have nothing left of Josh but our memories," he wrote, "and they're trying to destroy even those." He ended his statement by urging the judge to remember that Amber had never once accepted guilt or taken responsibility for her actions. Josh's mother also wrote, "Amber was found guilty after a fair trial by a jury of her peers. Her claims that the system is unjust or that the full truth wasn't revealed in court only prove her complete lack of remorse. Josh's grandmother shared one of her fondest memories. After Josh left the Air Force, one day he called me and said, "Hi Grandma, it's Josh. I heard you need your lawn mowed." I said, "I can do it tomorrow morning, but it'll cost you." He laughed. "Okay, how much vanilla pudding will that be?" I told him about a quart of milk's worth, and he said, "Sounds perfect. I'll be there at 10. Josh loved my homemade vanilla pudding. He used to say most people make it from a box, but mine was the real kind, old-fashioned and much better. I once gave him the recipe from my cookbook, but he told me that when he tried making it himself, it didn't taste the same. "That's because yours is made with love," he said. Amber Hilberling was sentenced to 25 years in prison, fined $10,000, and ordered to pay over $6,000 in restitution for Josh's funeral expenses. Amber's family strongly disagreed with the verdict. Her mother claimed that both police and the media intentionally emphasized their family's social status because the case promised headlines and ratings. In her view, journalists deliberately pushed the narrative of a rich girl who killed a war hero while ignoring crucial evidence that could have helped her daughter's defense.
Amber is innocent. Her side will be told.
We're never going to stop.
And we will not stop until Amber is free.
No one's ever prepared for this. This breaks your heart. This was nothing more than a tragic accident.
The whole thing was a tragedy.
Our side's not been told, but it will be.
Josh's father, Patrick, called the sentence just.
It's been unbearable, you know. I mean, we've lost a son. They've lost a daughter. Nobody really won, you know. But it's the hardest thing anybody has to go through.
The only thing that Amber said anything that had any truth in it was he was my protector, and it was vice versa. And I lost that, and I'm never going to get it back. And there's nothing that I can change.
But it wasn't just Amber's family and supporters who questioned the verdict. Mark Milam, a seasoned building facade consultant known as the Chicago window expert, and who had served as a defense witness during the trial, published a detailed analysis on his website 3 years after the conviction, reigniting debate over the possible role of the window's condition in the tragedy. He presented compelling evidence that the window system was dangerously neglected and structurally weakened. Milam also described what's known as the chimney effect, a pressure difference caused by the intense heat that week, and explained how strong, high-altitude winds could have created powerful suction capable of pulling out the old, weakened glass. In a photo taken immediately after the incident, the blinds can be seen blowing outward through the shattered window. According to Milam, that detail was telling. It indicated the air was pushing from inside the apartment outward, not the other way round. Similarly, both Josh's body and the glass debris landed noticeably north of the window, another clue suggesting that wind may have played a part. Milam called the event a fatal convergence of circumstances, a combination of extreme air pressure, thin unreinforced glass, and a brittle, deteriorated frame that barely held the pane in place. Despite the intense media attention, TV specials, a book, and countless articles, Amber's 25-year sentence was far from unusual. Oklahoma leads the nation in incarceration rates, partly due to its so-called 85% law, which requires inmates convicted of certain crimes to serve at least 85% of their sentence. The state also has some of the highest imprisonment rates for non-violent offences, especially among women and mothers, many of whom end up in overcrowded, underfunded prisons. Josh Hilberling's family, too, filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the University Club Tower complex, its management, and the window installation company, seeking more than $75,000 in damages. The outcome of that lawsuit remains unknown. As for Amber's own lawsuit against the building's owners, it was dismissed in 2015 after her attorney failed to properly notify the defendants within the required timeframe. And that wasn't his only mistake. The same attorney, Jason Kurz, who later changed his name to Jason Elias, soon voluntarily surrendered his law license amid an investigation by the Oklahoma Bar Association. He was accused of financial fraud against an elderly widow, a scheme he had allegedly carried out for years, from her mid-80 seconds into her 90 seconds. He was accused of the following: accepting a house from her worth over $500,000, naming himself as a 40% beneficiary in her estate, coercing her to pay off a mortgage exceeding $100,000, and receiving numerous gifts, including a car, cash, and other property. Following these revelations, he was barred from reapplying for his law license for 5 years. Given the well-documented problems with the facade and windows at the University Club Tower, one might have expected city officials to respond at the very least by issuing fines, ordering repairs, or initiating a civil investigation. But the final chapter of this story ends in a tragic and deeply unsettling way, leaving far more questions than answers. Although the prison officially ruled Amber's death a suicide, the timing just one day after she had agreed to a televised interview in which she promised to finally tell everything immediately raised suspicions. Her family and supporters refused to believe that she would take her own life right when she seemed determined to clear her name. Her grandmother, who had been her most steadfast defender from the very beginning, publicly rejected the suicide theory. Letters Amber sent home just weeks before her death gave no sign of despair. On the contrary, she wrote about plans to file an appeal, reconnect with her son Levi, and restore her reputation. Nevertheless, the official investigation concluded that she had acted alone. Prison officials emphasized the combination of substances found in her system, methamphetamine, amphetamine, and antidepressants, claiming it pointed to emotional instability or impulsive behavior. But critics have long argued that this explanation is incomplete. How could she have obtained methamphetamine inside a maximum security women's prison? Why, on that very morning, were some of the security cameras in her unit reportedly not working? Over the following years, numerous theories emerged. Some believed she had been silenced before she could reveal something crucial. Others suggested her death was the culmination of deep depression, addiction, and the crushing weight of years of isolation, separation from her son, and relentless public judgment. In the aftermath of Amber's death, her story became the subject of podcasts, documentaries, and countless online debates. For some, it was a devastating cautionary tale how a domestic argument spiraled into irreversible tragedy, claiming two young lives in vastly different ways, one through a fall and the other behind prison walls. For others, it was a symbol of systemic failure, a flawed justice system, neglected infrastructure, and a young woman trapped between guilt, pain, and public condemnation. Today, Levi, the son Amber left behind, is being raised by relatives. Both the Gilberlings and the Fields still grieve one family for their son, the other for their daughter, and both insist that the full truth has never been revealed. Even now, years later, people continue to return in thought to that 17th floor of the University Club Tower, asking the same haunting question. Was it a burst of rage, a tragic accident, or something that neither side ever truly understood? Amber's parents learned of their daughter's death through vague voicemail messages left by the prison on their phones. Her mother, Rhonda, and father, Brian Whitlock, tried desperately to call back to find out why the prison had been contacting them. Each time, they were transferred, disconnected, or sent to numbers that didn't work. After hours of trying, someone finally picked up and said just one sentence: "She's dead," then hung up. In the end, they learned that their daughter's death had been ruled a suicide, not from prison officials, but from the news. Soon after, the family began receiving messages, both privately and through social media, from inmates and even some prison employees, claiming that Amber had not taken her own life, but had instead been killed. The allegations were serious, that Amber had been threatened, silenced, and that the truth had been covered up. Amber's family and supporters have never believed the suicide explanation. They insist she was filled with hope, was planning a future with her son, whom she would never have abandoned, and was eagerly awaiting her television interview to finally share her side of the story. Her relatives maintain that Amber was wrongfully convicted, mistreated in prison, and that it was ultimately the prison system itself that took her life. Following her death, the family filed a wrongful death lawsuit on behalf of Amber's estate against the Oklahoma Department of Corrections, seeking over $75,000 in damages. In the suit, they alleged that the prison administration had failed to ensure her safety. Surveillance cameras were not working. Some required security checks were missed or conducted irregularly. There was no adequate protection from violent inmates, insufficient psychiatric care, and inconsistent distribution of prescribed psychotropic medications. Ultimately, however, the family withdrew the lawsuit. Amid all this tragedy stood their son, Levi, a boy who had not yet been born when his father died and his mother was taken into custody. Today, Levi is being raised by Amber's family, far away from the public eye. During the sentencing phase of the trial, Josh's grandmother, Beverly Gilberling, tearfully told the court, "I don't think I'll ever see Levi to give him his blanket. It breaks my heart to know I'll never get to see or love him." She was referring to a baby blanket she had lovingly crocheted for her grandson, one she never got to give him, as custody of Levi remained with Amber's family. Later, on the In Memory of Amber Hilberling Facebook page, drawings allegedly made by Levi appeared. They showed a child's interpretation of the bad window, the one from which his father fell, along with images connected to his mother's death. The pictures revealed how a young child tries to make sense of an unimaginable loss. So who was Amber Hilberling really? Was she guilty only of changing her story to self-defense, causing doubts about her intent? Was her only crime a single, tragic push, one made without malice, without realizing it could end her husband's life? Or was it truly a deliberate act, born out of anger and violence? The answer depends entirely on whom you ask. That's all for today's story. Tell us in the comments what you think about this case, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video if you found it compelling. Thank you for staying with us until the very end.